Good morning. My name is Yuri Besarab and I will talk to you on about post-psychology or introduction to post-psychology and autodidactics that were developed by Kourinsky. Today we have to discuss a very important issue for us, and that is interest. Okay, to start with, let's look how kids are playing. Okay, they play with a toy, right? Then they change the toys. And from time to time they switch, and also they do something which Kourinsky noticed and turned into a tool for us, for adults, to use, which is called actualization of interest. What's that? That is when we break a toy. That's what kids usually do when they play enough and they feel adaptation to the toy. That's why they need to break it. They need to create something else, something different. And this is exactly what we are doing with you, or we can do it with you. After Kourinsky turned it into an instrument for us to study. I think he deserves maybe Nobel Prize even for this, because nobody did it, nobody paid attention to this, and nobody turned it into this instrument, this tool that we can use with you. And I will show to you, I will give you some practical examples. But first of all, let's look at adaptation, because this is a very important issue for us. Take perfume, for example. Everybody has perfume these days at home. Or take some flowers. Let's take lily of the valley, for example. It smells so good. But the question is, how long do we feel that smell? Let's say count. It's maybe 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds, but that's it. So you see, our body is made in a way that we adapt even to smell, to something beautiful smell very quickly. So this is adaptation. And children, especially before school, before they go to school or prime school, it's like a part of their nature. They switch. Their interest, it's the feeling which they always have. That's why maybe we love our childhood, because we were always in the state of interest. Because interest is a feeling, it's a state of our mind. And kids, they use this like naturally. They use this technique of breaking a toy and switching to different activities, to different toys. There is an organization which is called Healthline, and in 2010 they had a research, a study, and probably it was on adults, on kids, probably also on children, and they found out that 47% of our time when we are not sleeping, so we don't think about those things that we would like to think. We don't do those things that we would like to do. And it's also related to this problem that our interest as a feeling, we lose it. We adapt to the things. And for kids, just imagine they after playing like this that I described to you, then they go to school. And here where the tragedy starts, in the school, because when they play with their toys, they switch every time 5, maybe 10 minutes from toy to toy, from activity to activity, maybe 15 minutes. But that's it. That's the way they usually act. That's the way they usually behave. And here in the school, they have to sit and think about the same subject for, let's say, 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, or 45 minutes. And this is horrible, because this is boredom, and boredom means poison to the body, and children know about that. And just imagine, after that school, they also go to the university, so 4 or 5 years in the university of boredom, because they have to sit 45 minutes or 2 hours sometimes and thinking about the same subject. It's fine if it is the subject we really love, but even with that subject we cannot work for long. And then they go to work, and the same story happens at the work, because the boss says you have to think about this and only this, and to do this, only this. Just imagine 8 hours a day like that. You come home dead. And statistics show that the number of suicides is growing yearly. I believe this is one of the factors, because if somebody lives with interest, interest is a feeling. It's also love, let's say, because without interest to a person, we cannot love that person. It's, this is very interrelated, love and interest. So, what do we need to do with you? We need to learn this technique of breaking a toy that Kourinsky developed. I will show you several examples, but you can apply it to anything. For example, you study mathematics, or you study physics, or you study programming, whatever. You take a book, you study your book, your manual. In my case, I take like Chinese, for example. And we divide, for example, this is a lesson. Let's imagine this is a lesson. We divide it into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Here we have like pictures and words. Here we train pronunciation, because I took this example. And here we learn characters and also parts of the characters. I divide them into 4. So I go through all the lesson, in this case, all the 4 parts. And then I start breaking the toy, the lesson, in this case. So I work on this. Part 1, then I go to part 2, but then instead of 3 I go to 4, and this is when I break. So I actualize my interest, and then I return back to 3, part 3, or I can start with 4, 3, 2, 1. In this case I have many variants how to actualize my interest and how to make my activity learning the Chinese, which I love. And in your case, it could be, as I told you, it could be algebra, it could be geometry, chemistry, biology, whatever. But the principle is the same. So we actualize as long as we want, and we will really enjoy it. I will show you, for example, on a poem, right? It's easy. We'll take, let's say, a poem of Wordsworth, Daffodils. I divided the poem into 4 parts, you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we start reading the whole poem. First of all, we start with reading the whole poem. I wandered lonely as a cloud that flows on high over vales and hills, etc., etc. So we read to the end. Then we read 1, stanza 1, then 3, then 4, then 2, and in this way we can play forever. And someone who knows lots of poems, lots of beautiful things, is already saved, because at any moment we can always think about that, about these poems. We can recite in our mind, in our imagination them. And even in the most boring situations during the meeting of the board of directors, we can think about those poems, and we will enjoy. So there is one rule in Autodidactics, I have to introduce it right now. To do only that which is interesting to us. To do only those things which are interesting to us. So there is, I will come back to this young kid, or small kid, children. So they, because of that problem of boredom or losing the interest in the school, some doctors noticed it, and some scientists noticed it, and also teachers probably helped them. They identified it as a disorder. They called it even, they gave it a name, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Of course, if I am bored and if I am small, what else should I do? I need to do some activities. I show with this that I have really a problem with my interest. Well, I'm not doing it correctly in a natural way like I usually do when I'm home. So, but doctors, of course, they don't speak to me. They just observe that I have this problem, and they decided to develop medicine for me. And then they told my parents, you need to take this medicine. They say it's very expensive, but you have to take it because your kid has a problem. And then parents give that medicine, pay lots of money. They give that medicine to the kid, and the kid comes and he or she has a glassy eyes. So after that medicine, so does it solve the problem? No. Because this is the problem already with attention, and it's not cured in that way. The kid, if the kid is playing with something interesting, there will be no problem. So we need to redefine some of the, let's say, thinking tools that we are using. And attention, we have to understand it as a state of our imagination. And I use the word imagination instead of using the word brain, because if we speak about brain, we lose. We cannot use it as a tool because there are many things, many operations taking place in the brain. But if we take imagination, that's fine, and this imagination, especially if it is under the influence or it is tuned. My imagination is influenced by interest, and then I will have attention. So if I have interest, if I do something interesting, and of course I do this in my imagination, then I have attention. If I don't have interest, there will be no, first of all, there will be no attention. And even in my imagination, there will be boredom. So this is probably the biggest problem. But now you have the tool, you know what to do. And also I wanted to mention that imagination is, we can call it like sensation organ of our soul. Ivan Pavlov, he was working on sensations, on identifying those sensations like smell, vision, hearing, and touch, but nobody, because he was working with the dogs, and many scientists are using animals as for experiments, they don't look at other things that we as humans have. So we have imagination, and I suggest to use it to understand it as an organ of our soul. I use the word soul because it's more instrumental than using psyche. So now you are armed, and with these definitions, with these tools, I will remind them again. We have the rule of to do only those things that are interesting to us. We know how to break the toy, or in other words, actualize interest. And also I wanted to show you also a little instrument for you, this little circle. You can find it in the books of Kourinsky, but this is used to exercise our attention, or to understand that visual attention, we can handle it. In other words, we can direct our attention to those things that we want. And with this, I want to finish. And please put likes, subscribe, share, and to the next video, to the next conversation with you. Bye-bye.